and welcome to another video. This is my slightly delayed October wrap up. I did film this before, but I was using my bedroom lighting because the nights are getting darker earlier here in the UK, but it just wasn't any good. So this is my slightly belated October wrap up. In the month of October I managed to read 8 books, which was pretty good. A couple of them are quite hefty, so without further ado, let's get into it. The first book that I finished in October was Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. This is the UK hardback edition, which has beautiful end pages and a really nice cover, if you can see the shiny crow on that. It took me a while to get into this, I have to admit, and it was only after I stopped reading the footnotes that I really started enjoying it. Some of the footnotes in it, like from there down is footnote, and it just took me out of the story too much. I just couldn't get my head round reading those and then going back into the story where we left it off, so I stopped reading those, but then ended up really enjoying it. Nevernight, for those who don't know, just a really brief synopsis, is it's about a girl called Mia who goes to a church where they essentially train you to be an assassin. Only a certain number of people manage to do it each intake that they do, and it's all about her adventures and trying to become an assassin, basically. Then the next book that I read was Godsgrave by Jay Kristoff, which is the sequel to Nevernight. It's the second book in a trilogy. Again, this is the UK hardback edition, and this one has on it a like wolf. And I won't say too much about it because it is a sequel, but again we follow Mia and her adventures and what happens next in her story. I'm not going to say more than that. Then I read Because You Love to Hate Me, 13 Tales of Villainy, written by 13 YA authors and 13 YouTubers. The YouTubers provided the prompts and then the authors wrote short stories all around villains. It was okay. Some of the stories were a lot better than others. I particularly like Samantha Shannon and V. Schwab's stories, but then I really like those two as authors. I did think too much time was given to the YouTubers. The YouTubers got quite a few pages and I thought we could have had more story with that. And also the prompt that the YouTuber gave was actually in the order in this book. It goes story, prompt, and then YouTuber blurb. I kind of thought we should have the prompt, then the story, and to be honest I would have not bothered with the YouTuber blurb, but that's just me. So yeah. Then next was the Fairy Loot book for September. The September Fairy Loot book, which was Even the Darkest Stars by Heather Fawcett. I buddy read this with my best friend Caroline and really enjoyed it. We both thought it was brilliant. It's basically about a young girl called Kamzin who is a really good climber, and one day the Emperor's explorer adventurer comes to her village and she's hoping to go with him when he tries to climb like one of the biggest mountains. Really enjoyed it. Lots of twists and turns, lots of funny moments as well. I really liked all the characters and I'm really looking forward to see where this goes because yeah, it ends on a really interesting point and I can't wait to get back into the world and see the next one. Then I read This Mortal Coil by Emily Savada. I actually read an ARC copy that I was kindly given to me by NetGalley in exchange for a review, and really enjoyed it. It's just fascinating. It's one of the best dystopian thrillers that I've ever read. I couldn't put it down. I really enjoyed it. The basic premise is that a plague has wiped out a lot of the world and a lot of people are hiding in bunkers. Then Kat, our main character, is not. She's living on the surface trying to survive. Then one day a guy called Cole turns up and it turns out that his DNA holds the secret to curing the world, and it's down to Kat to try and help him do that. This is the Waterstones version, which has the really cool sprayed edges. and I was lucky enough that I on proof of pre-order you got a signed book plate, and it came and I managed to stick it in the book, and I really enjoyed it and I highly recommend it. Next I read A Jigsaw of Fire and Stars by Yaba Bado. This was the September book for Book Box Club, and unfortunately it was the weakest in everything I read. I gave it 2 stars. I really didn't like it all that much. It follows the story of Santi, who is an orphan who is part of a circus, and yeah, it's magical realism, which is okay. I really like magical realism, but it didn't seem to be a point in it being magical realism, and it tried to deal with some really serious issues like people trafficking and prostitution, but unfortunately it's a group of like 14, 15, 16-year-olds trying to take down this cartel of people traffickers, and it just fell flat for me, I'm afraid. Tried to deal with really serious issues, but it didn't do it enough justice in my opinion. So yeah, sadly I wasn't very impressed with that one. Next I listened to The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden on audiobook. Really enjoyed it. Took me a couple of chapters to get used to the narrator, but once I did, really enjoyed it. It's like a Russian inspired type fairy tale. Our main character Vasya can see demons and spirits in the world. Not all of them bad, some of them bad, some of them good. But she gets called a witch, and nobody else believes her because they say she should be believing in God and all this sort of stuff. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fascinating. Love the fairy tale element to it. It felt like a proper fairy tale story, and I really enjoyed it a lot. And then the last book that I read was Three Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake. Enjoyed this. It was slower than I thought it was. Reading the back, it's about 3 sisters. Every generation there's 3 sisters born. They grow up separately, they're trained, they each have different powers. One is a poisoner, one is an elemental, and one is a naturalist, meaning she can like bloom flowers and things like that. And they end up having to, like, there's only one throne, so they have to fight to the death. I expected a lot more action in it. You actually spend most of the first book getting to the point where they have to fight each other. There is no interaction between the sisters very much, so yeah, it was slower than I expected, but it was still good, and I am looking forward to reading One Dark Throne at some point in the future, hopefully soon. But yeah, it was okay. So those were the 8 books that I read in the month of October. There they are. So yeah, if you've read any of these books, let me know down below, and as always I will be happy to chat to you in the comments. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you'd so be inclined. Thank you very much. I'll see you again soon. Bye.